Joining me right now, GOP political strategist, co-founder of MustReadTexas.com, Matt Mackowiak. Matt, good morning. How are you?
Hey, Chad. Doing great. Good morning.
Appreciate you coming on today. Let's start off by talking a little 2016 news. It's been now about a week since Ted Cruz announced his campaign for the presidency in 2016. So far, how do you think it's gone?
I think fairly well, particularly in the first, 2 or 3 days. I mean, he earned a lot of media, and looks like he's raised about $3 million so far. He said he wanted to raise about $1 million in that first week, so he's done well. And a lot of that's been online through small donors that can give again. I think that he also had a lot of people raise questions about electability and experience, but those were, not new criticisms of him. I think they've been out there before, and so look, I think he's off and running, and I think he's earned the media he wanted to earn, and he got a really good announcement event out there to show why he's running, and we kind of go forward now.
Unless it's a far left website, it still appears to me that there are numerous publications that are saying, okay, yeah, he's down in the polls right now, but don't count out Ted Cruz. Is that sort of what you're seeing as far as headlines right now?
Yeah, I think that's right. Unless there's pundits and reporters in the Beltway that I think are still talking about how he has no chance to be the nominee and no chance to be president. But I think most of the commentariat has been, I think, a little bit more circumspect than that. Made the case that he's, a strong candidate in Iowa, a strong candidate in South Carolina, had a lot of grassroots support, and is going to acquit himself, pretty well on the campaign trail, which I think is the expectation most people have.
Visiting with Matt Mackowiak. Matt, yesterday I was watching some of the Sunday morning TV shows, and Martin O'Malley was big name on a couple of them, and made quite a few headlines yesterday, really going after Hillary Clinton, of course the Bushes as well, about this the whole dynasty that you can't pass the crown from one political dynasty to the other. It sounds like he's in for 2016. What do people need to know about Martin O'Malley that a lot of people probably don't know?
Yeah, I mean, he was a 2-term governor of Maryland. Really pretty liberal. I mean, if you look at his record, it's kind of a wish list of what liberals would like to have happen to the country. It's what is what he did as governor. He did things on climate change, passed the minimum wage increase, tax increases, lots of spending. I don't know that he's a very strong candidate, but I think that his rhetoric went a little further than it's gone in the past. I think that's probably a reflection of sort of the weakness of Hillary right now, particularly on this email scandal. Look, I think you're going to start to see some Democrats, move toward running in the next, 4, 6, 8 weeks, believing that there may be an opportunity here. It looks like there's going to be a renewed push to get Elizabeth Warren to run, which seems like it's kind of never really stopped, but it looks like it's going to kind of reach another gear. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know that O'Malley is all that strong. Apparently he's pretty close to the Clintons. So I think he's probably running more of a vice president or for a role in the cabinet. But I did think he made a striking comment there on ABC over the weekend, and it did make some news, certainly.
Who would be a stronger candidate between he and Elizabeth Warren as someone running against Hillary?
Oh, I think there's no question Elizabeth Warren would be stronger. I mean, I honestly think her star power is overrated. She certainly has had some success in talking about the income inequality message and economic populism, but she's really quite inexperienced. She was a university professor before that. But look, I think when you talk about the grassroots of the Democratic Party, Elizabeth Warren is as popular as anyone, probably more popular than anyone. Huge email list, huge response when she goes out and speaks across the country and raises money. I mean, she's sort of the Ted Cruz of the left. So she would be a massively stronger candidate against Hillary. than Martin OMalley would be. He's fairly unknown. Obviously, the governor's office did not stay in Democratic hands. It went to a Republican, which in a pretty blue state. So I think that's a real knock against him. So look, I think Elizabeth Warren has the right mix of grassroots enthusiasm and probably record to run against Hillary from her left and do so successfully, potentially very successfully. Whereas I think O'Malley's really just going to succeed only if Hillary really stumbles.
Visiting with Matt Mackowiak, I think one of the more striking polling data that I saw yesterday, and I think it was on ABC, was that they asked the folks in Maryland, and this was a couple of years back, would Martin O'Malley be a strong candidate for president or a good candidate for president? And only 10, 14% said he'd be a strong candidate. That's not good coming from your home state.
Yeah, I think that was in October. I don't think it was a couple years back.
Oh, okay.
I think it was last October.
Wow.
He said, well, we had a governor's race going on at that time, and but yeah, I mean, it wasn't just 10 or 14% that said yes; it was 70% that said no.
Right.
If I remember correctly, I mean, yeah. So that is amazing, particularly again in a Democratic state to have that little support for you running for president.
Yeah, that's not good for him. Let's take a look at what's happening with the ledge. The Texas Tribune has an interesting article out today, and is dealing with ethics. And Jim Clancy suggesting shutting down the enforcement of the state's ethics laws, and the Texas Tribune saying, well, this might actually help Greg Abbott in a way get real ethics reform through. What are your thoughts on this whole ethics battle shaping up down in Austin?
Yeah, I mean, and some of this goes back to the ethics issues regarding the conservative activist Michael Quinn Sullivan, and the question of whether the sort of legislative work that his organization does should require him to register as a lobbyist. The Texas Ethics Commission said he'd have to register and fined him $10,000 for not registering. I think in the 2011 session, he fought it and won in a court ruling in Denton County, I think a couple weeks ago, and I don't know where that stands now. I think it's being appealed, but yeah, I mean, the Texas Ethics Commission is complaining, or at least their former chairman is complaining, they don't have the resources to truly enforce the ethics rules of the state of Texas. I think it's probably a pretty reasonable argument to make. The Texas Ethics Commission is, for the most part, toothless in Texas. And so, yeah, the point that Ross Ramsey makes in the Texas Tribune is that this may create the opportunity or sort of the urgency necessary for Abbott to pass his ethics reform proposal. He put a pretty significant ethics reform proposal out there when he was running as governor. It's one of the first things that he put out there. And, look, we've had some ethics problems in Texas. You look at this HHSC contracting scandal, which continues to develop. I think there is a moment here. Whether the legislators, believe it's time to take this step remains to be seen.
Visiting with Matt Mackowiak. Matt, what can folks find on mustreadtexas.com today and throughout the week as well?
Yeah, a lot of news about Cruz and Perry on the site. Cruz was in New Hampshire over the weekend, first trip to an early state since he announced for president. A lot of news about Perry as well. So you can find a lot of that on mustreadtexas.com. And, of course, we're covering the Texas legislative session, which is now in the second half of the 140-day period. All the news at mustreadtexas.com.
All right. As always, Matt Mackowiak, thank you very much, and urge people to follow you on Twitter at Matt Mackowiak for all the latest news and opinion as well. Matt, thank you.
Thanks, Chad. Have a great week.
You too. That's Matt Mackowiak. We'll go ahead. We'll take the break here on the Chad Hasty Show. News Talk 790 KFYO.